There's absolutely a spectrum of the way people remember East Germany from, I guess at one extreme, people remember the Stasi, the East German secret police, how they watched and trailed people's movements. They collected an inordinate amount of information on all sorts of people, from political suspects to just ordinary people who were doing nothing out of turn. The kind of information they collected, the Stasi, was, you know, the brand of toothpaste that a person bought. What else? I guess what time they ate their main meal, at lunchtime or in the evening, what time they took their children to school. So this is very pernicious, and for those of us who didn't live through in an East German sort of secret police state, it's all very sensational. It's very intriguing to imagine what that would have been like. But for a lot of East Germans, they had no idea about the extent to which the Stasi had infiltrated daily life. So their memories of the GDR have nothing to do with the Stasi. The Stasi did have 91,000 full-time employees, and that's, you know, vastly larger than the Gestapo under Nazi Germany, where they were only 7,000 employees. But nonetheless, that's not how the majority of East Germans remember the German Democratic Republic. And I suppose so while for the persecuted East Germans, obviously it was a relief when the end of East Germany came about with the German reunification. But for others who hadn't been persecuted, who had a guaranteed job under communism, who benefited from subsidized rent and food, suddenly after reunification, when unemployment rocketed to 15% amongst East Germans from practically nothing beforehand, when prices rocketed, suddenly they felt a really strong sense of nostalgia for the old East, completely understandably. People had very, very different experiences of what life was like in the German Democratic Republic, and so that and I suppose their experiences in the German Democratic Republic and their experiences subsequently very much colour how they viewed the transition. But I think irrespective of whether East Germans loved the communist regime, were sort of apathetic about it, or absolutely loathed it, they were all shaped and moulded by the society that they lived in. And so when reunification came and there was this takeover by the West, effectively, it was very disorientating. It was profoundly unsettling for East Germans. They were very conscious, for example, after reunification, that they dressed differently from West Germans, that they didn't necessarily know how to pronounce the items on the McDonald's menu, or they didn't know how to work a coin-operated supermarket trolley because it simply hadn't existed in the GDR. One lady, for example, commented that she'd long wished to travel, but she'd always wished to be able to go home. And the changes that happened to East Germany were so rapid after reunification that East Germans' home often felt like a foreign land. You know, of course, they were grateful, I found out in interviews, for the ability to travel more widely than the communist Eastern Bloc, the ability to vote in free elections, or the ability to speak their minds freely without fear of being incarcerated as a political prisoner. But at the same time, the whole experience of transitioning from communism to capitalism was profoundly unsettling.